Hello, welcome back to S.P.Q.R, which are some alphabetical letters, which are all the letters but not in the correct order here. I think I might have missed here one date. No, I don't think so. Or wait. We're here, right? From here to here. That's not even accurate even. Well, I don't think I did at this point. Then let's see. Maybe we'll be fine. Citizens rejoice. The messages from the provincial governors continue to congratulate the Senate and the people with the restoration of law and order. The anniversary of his Parthian and Arabian victories was celebrated by our most fortunate and most powerful emperor, Septimius Severus, on the Capitol in the presence of the members of the sacred imperial family, all state and city magistrates, priestly colleagues, and huge multitudes of common people. Later in the day, the crowds of people lined up along Via Appia to salute the imperial cortege on its way to the emperor's suburban villa, where he and his lady wife, Julia Augusta, will stay for a short vacation. Business and family. Pomponia will divorce me if our young Stella, or Gordiana, as she prefers to call her, is not put forward for the order of the Vestal Virgins. Wow. My heart cannot find itself. I told Verania of Pomponia's plans for Stella. Verania's words did not help. Maybe because I do not know my own mind on this matter, and therefore can't hear advice. Well, let's read about Verania's. Wait, what were we reading before? I'm pretty sure we were reading Verania's stuff here. Custom before giving birth. Festivals. I'm confused now. I was reading something here. Philosophy. Glossary. I think I'm done with this. Infantian has to do with... Maybe I just started here. Right? And I was assuming here that I was reading about gods and that there were like 12. But there, I'm pretty sure there's way more than 12. So let's read about festivals. Throughout the year, all citizens take time to honor the gods of the sky and the underworld, and to pledge loyalty to the gods who ensure our continued peace and prosperity. These times of reverence and joy release our citizens' deepest passions. The streets are sometimes filled with wild dancing. The dies nefasti are most special days of Rome, when no business can be done. All who wish to truly honor the gods and bless their lives to ensure good fortune celebrate these days with open hearts. So these are festival days. They are special days. I think. Lupercalia. The Flamens of Corinus sacrifice goats and a dog to the defied Romulus. The priests wear a skin of wolves on their back as they perform the sacrifice in the Lupercal cave where the she-wolf suckled Romulus and Remus. 2 chosen noble youths are marked with the sacrificial blood of on their foreheads in honor of the twins Romulus and Remus. Then they run through the streets whipping people with strips of goat skin to bestow fertility. Okay. The Lupercalia is a time of unrestrained behavior. The normally unseen and unsanctioned acts of kissing in public is encouraged on this day of celebrating the she-wolf who nursed the founders of Rome. Date at Kalmar. Festival of Mars. The 24 Salian priests who served Mars wore ceremonial robes and danced through the streets. 12 danced to honor the cavalry, and the other 12 the foot soldiers. To honor the foot soldiers. They removed the sacred shields of Mars from the Regia for blessing and rituals, and do not replace them until the festival of Armilustrium. And the Salian priest also blessed the horses or soldiers' ride and the trumpets that lead them to battle. So these are nice to have as well, like knowing the dates for different festivals. That's quite important. Because like now we're in February, so it was only in March here. Festival of Mars in April, not March, in March. For the Cydia, also this seems to be an order of happening. To celebrate the fecundity of the earth, the priests sacrifice a pregnant cow. At the temple of Vesta, we place the womb on the Vestal fire. Well, it doesn't get weirder than that, right? If the gods rejoice in our offering, the seeds will grow and our crop will be abundant. After the womb burns, we collect the ashes for the Parilia, held 6 days later. When the shepherds purify themselves and their herds, the ceremony is one in a month filled with offerings to Ceres, who keeps grounds fertile and animals healthy. All Rome joins in praising her. Lemuria, a solemn time in Rome when the spirit of those who cross the river Styx, the lemurs, return to haunt their homes. If displeased with what they find, they steal the souls of those not yet chosen by Pluto. The spirits of the dead are appeased with a ritual offering. The head of the household cleans his hands and throws 9 black beans over his shoulder as he walks the house at night. Others choose to spit out the beans. It is my task as Vestalis Maxima to walk the halls of the 6th hour at the 6th hour of the night with the beans and with my thumb covered by my fingers in the fertility sign of the Mano Fico. Right? Lots of stuff happening. Vestalia, although we relight the sacred flame in the temple of Vesta on the calends of March, our most joyous time is the Vestalia in June, or celebration on the referred virgin goddess Vesta. For 7 days we open our doors to the women of Rome, who come barefoot with loose hair and bowed heads to view the Palladium. I'm pretty sure I read this at the Vesta temple. Our ancestor Aeneas rescued the sacred statue from the fires of Troy and brought it to Italy. It resided in Alba Longa and later was transferred to Rome to be kept in the Penetralia, inner sanctum of the Vestal atrium. Here it remains, promising safety to Rome if kept secure. I tremble to think what will happen to Rome should anyone steal the Palladium. Preparing or offering. I have always enjoyed making the special mola salsa for our offering to Vesta. How peaceful and full of purpose I feel when cleaning the area and then grinding the salt into a powder so fine the best miller in Rome can't match it. I'm 100% sure I've read that. The Vestals pick the earliest and the freshest earn of corn, which we ground by hand into a flour almost as fine as the salt. We store this holy flour in the penetralia until the morning of the feast. We add water and form the cakes that feed our most revered Vesta. Bakers and millers rest during the festival in honor of Vesta. Games of Apollo. Here, all Rome joins together to watch our best athletes compete. For 6 luxurious days, the city exults in the accomplishment of her young men. I think I also read that, but I'm not sure about that one. Their athletic prowess honors the greatest chariot driver, the sun god Apollo. There are numerous competitions, including boxing, riding, wrestling, long distance running, and a chariot race that everyone tries to see. I'm not sure if I read that. Maybe. Festival of Luna. Only under the partial light of the moon will the spirits from the underworld dare to cross the river Styx and enter the world of the living. This is a somber day when no one works, for those who live with Pluto must be free to move about the earth. The priests conduct a ceremony over the mundus, a sacred hole through which the spirits travel, and then remove the cover, freeing the spirits for 1 day. I mean, why would you even do that? Festival of Jupiter Optimus Maximus. This is the time when each citizen of the empire should sing praises to the god who makes all things possible. Even the soldiers come to honor the god who protects them in battle. The emperor, dressed in white robes, leads the procession. Young boys follow, carrying the utensils used for the sacrifice, leading the white oxen that will be sacrificed to Jupiter. The priest walks up the steps of the temple of Jupiter in the appropriate manner, beginning his ascent with his right foot so that this foot will be the first place before the temple entrance. This festival of Jupiter begins the season of celebration and time of indulging in the bounty of our land. Arm Illustrium. Once again we honor Mars, the god of war, by a purification of arms. The Salian priests dance again in the streets. This feat concludes the rites begun during the earlier festival of Mars and signals the end of the war season. The shields of Mars are returned to the Regia. Saturnalia, a glorious week of feasting and dancing to honor Saturn, who among with Ceres provides us with a bountiful harvest. A farmer's As farmers prepare the fields for rest, all of Rome marks the end of the year with the largest public festival. This festival is unlike any other. The Saturnalia begins with an offering of salt meal cakes to Saturn and an animal sacrifice. This is the only time when the emperor, in his capacity as Pontifex Maximus, approaches the altar with an unveiled head. Before reaching the altar, he passes through the area of Saturn where the treaties between Rome and her conquered foes hang. Freedom from convention. During the Saturnalia, nobles removed their purple striped togas in favor of plainer wear and the pileus cap, the sign of the freedman. Slaves sit at the table with their masters, sharing their food as if they are their peers. In some homes, they even speak rudely to their owners without the risk of punishment. And a citizen is chosen to reign over the people during the festival as the Lord of Misrule, or Saturnalicius Princeps. He is dressed to look like the great god Saturn and grants any request. Since his power is only temporary, the emperor feels no threat and sometimes even appeals to the mocking in the guise of a supplicant, whatever that might mean. Celebrations in the street. During the Saturnalia, candles light every home and street corner in homage to the movement from darkness to light, signified by the solstice. Laughter fills the air as everyone enjoys their good fortune and gives gifts of fruit, trinkets, and exquisite clothes. Or exquisite cloths, not clothes. New Year's Day Festival. It should be the last one, right? Yeah. Or it should be the first one. Romans mark the cycle of the new year on the first day of January with a look to the past and a look ahead. The Saturnalia has just ended, and we now honor Janus, the god of the beginning and the end. With the festival of light, lamps are given traditionally as gifts to light the way for the coming year. However, we Vestal virgins still follow the old traditions. We relight the sacred flame in the temple of Vesta on the old New Year's Day, the first day of March, the calends of Martius. The old New Year's Day, yeah, that makes sense. Customs. Before giving birth. I've read this already, but should I read it again? Before giving birth, women in Rome and throughout the empire wish for a healthy child born with good luck and the favor of the gods. For this to happen, habits must change and special offerings are made. A woman with child must not cross her legs or fingers, for those positions not the body, which brings bad luck to both mother and child. Any Roman takes great care to avoid dead animals, but a woman with a child must take even greater care, for if she touches a dead animal, both she and her child could die. When she has made it through to the 10th month, 9 months is too early, she should pray to Juno Lucina with her hair unbound for a painless birth. Right. We Vestals have little to do with blood sacrifice, but as Romans we know that blood is unclean. If the blood of the sacrificial animals sprinkles the flamen of Jupiter's robes, It is tainted until he changes into his sacred toga, made of cotton or wool. The blood after childbirth will also pollute a house until it has been purified. Claiming the child. After the midwife claims a child, she places it on the ground at the father's feet. The air is filled with a sense of anticipation. If the father holds the child above his head and claims it as his own, there is great joy. If the child is disfigured, the new father may not raise it up, and the infant is taken from the house and exposed in the street. Even healthy boys and girls are sometimes left in the street if a family has too many mouths to feed or too many girls requiring dowries. The naming day and infancy. After the birth ceremony, we wait a few days before naming the child and having a great feast. Our boys are named on the 9th day, a multiple of the strong masculine number 3. We all wait 8 days, a doubting of the feminine number. We only wait 8 days, a doubling of the feminine number 4, to name the girls. The Roman child is strong in every way, for we avoid rearing a child who depends on parents and others. Daily cold water baths and vigorous massages to the skull, nose, legs, and bottom strengthen the child and help it to survive. Right. A lucky woman. 3 is a lucky number, and any woman strong enough to survive bearing 3 children is fortunate. Sometimes a man whose wife is barren will ask to adopt a fertile woman's next child. At other times, a man may ask this fruitful woman's husband to divorce her. If the husband agrees, the other man will wed the woman, but the woman admires most is the univira. She marries once and does not marry after her husband's death. Adoption. The Romans regard their adopted sons as blood relations and treat them on the same footing as the real ones. Under the Republic, sons were adopted from one noble family into another for the purpose of political alliance. Some emperors did it in order to facilitate succession. In the periods from Nerva to Marcus Aurelius, each of them was adopted by a predecessor. Severus is the only person in the history who managed to become an adopted son post factum, that is, years after the death of the man he calls his adoptive father. He did this in order to enhance the legitimacy of his claim for purple, ridiculous as it may seem. Becoming an adult. Should turn my phone off. That's harder than it is, because phones are dumb. Becoming an adult. Evil spirits lie in wait to take our children. The purple trim on their robes keeps them safe. Talismans like a bulla made of skin or gold are worn around the neck to protect them. A boy becomes man during the Lupercalia in Martius when he exchanges his robe of childhood, the praetexta, for a white woolen adult toga, the toga virilis. Many reverently preserve their first shaved beard for the rest of their lives. Right? In a ceremony honoring the goddess Fortuna Virginalis, respectable girls replace their own childhood robes with the stola worn by all Roman women. Both young men and women remove their charms as they can now protect themselves from harm. Marriage. Today it is rare to see a lavish marriage ceremony. There was a time when an ornate celebration surrounded the movement of a woman from her family to her husband's, a joyous event. Now the elaborate ceremony has been replaced with a mutual discussion to live under the same roof. One tradition that continues is asking a univira, a woman who has been married only once, to dress the bride. In earlier times, the woman can be either placed under the authority of her husband or retain the guardianship of her male relatives. Now, all this is largely obsolete, and she is able to manage her affairs and property on her own. Dressing the bride. It is wonderful to see a bride wearing the traditional orange veil that hides the right side of her face, and sandals of the same color. Her white robe of wool, a tunica recta, has no hem and is tied around her waist with a double knot that the groom must not untie until they lie on the nuptial couch. Over this robe is a brilliant cloak dyed with saffron. Underneath the veil, the bride's hair is separated into 6 sections and wrapped in woolen ribbons, attesting to her purity. A wreath of myrtle leaves and orange blossoms is lovingly placed atop the veil. A traditional marriage ceremony. The couples join hands to signify that the bride now belongs to her husband. She declares her loyalty to him, saying, Ubi ta Gaius eco Gaia. After a kiss to the husband places a ring made entirely of gold or gold with iron on his wife's finger. It is placed on the third finger of the left hand because it is this finger that holds a special nerve that connects the finger to the heart. An animal sacrifice is made to ensure a fruitful union with no quarrels. After the festive banquet, the husband takes his bride from her mother and brings her to his house. A new home. After the wedding feast, everyone follows the bride, who is led through the streets by 3 boys whose parents are still alive. When the bride reaches her new home, she rubs olive oil on the doorpost. As she waits to enter, her new husband asks her name, and she nobly repeats the wedding phrase, Ubi ta... Well, he then carries her over the threshold, which has been draped with a white cloth and green leaves. Once the bride crosses the threshold, she gives her husband a copper coin and offers 2 to the gods who bless her new home. Marriage and divorce. I don't know what this is. Don't mind that. It's creepy. Marriage and divorce. There are stories of an earlier ceremony where a high-ranked priest joined the couple. The couple shared a thin bread called S.P.Q.R, made from spelt and water to seal their union. Today no Roman would return to this ceremony, for it is said to unite people for life. Starting with the late Republic, to obtain divorce became increasingly easier. Under Augustus, it was the husband's right to repudiate his wife on the grounds of adultery, but nowadays the divorce can be initiated by either of the spouses under the flimsiest pretexts. Regrettably, one hears all the time of men and women who enter their fourth or fifth or sixth marriage with no sense of shame. Funerals. The funeral of my venerable predecessors, the Vestial Maxima, was a glorious state affair. Her body was placed near the Temple of Vesta for all of Rome to visit and honor her service and life. She was buried in accordance with the laws of the 12 tables within the city walls, an honor given only to Vestals and emperors and a few others who render a special service to Rome or are very rich and powerful. Most Romans are buried in ceremonies outside the city walls. The Roman funeral. Most Romans do not have a funeral as elaborate as one of the Vestial Maxima or an emperor. The poor have their funerals at night and must sometimes hire mourners, just so that there are enough to usher the death into the underworld. Some plebeians join funeral guilds, which collect dues over many years to help them provide a proper funeral for their loved ones. The money ensures the deceased a more than satisfactory funeral, with actors to impersonate the dead, a luxury which usually accompanies only a noble's funeral. Such a funeral honors the ancestors of the deceased. A funeral procession. During a funeral procession, the sound of flutes, horns, and drums covers the wails of women as they walk with loose hair to the ceremony. Family members wear the ceremonial death mask of their ancestors and grey togas. The body is brought to the funeral pyre for cremation or the tomb for burial in a hand barrel pushed by the Vespilons. When the mourners return from the cemetery, they are purified with a sprinkling of water and then enjoy a great feast. The dead are not forgotten quickly, for through a ceremonial offering, the deceased relative is fed a wonderful meal. Cremation and Burial. Since the founding of Rome, there have been two ways of sending the dead from this world. One group of people who came from the hills burned the bodies and buried the ashes. Another placed their dead in the ground. Later on, the two traditions intermixed. We either bury the ashes in a special area of the cemetery after sprinkling them with water, soaking them in milk, and then using linen cloths to remove the liquid, or we wrap the body in linen and bury it. We always place a coin in the mouth so that our deceased relatives can pay Charon to ferry them across the river Styx. An unclean house. Death comes and marks a house. The flamen of Jupiter must avoid any house where someone has recently died or risk becoming unclean and unable to perform ceremonies. Cypress branches are placed outside a building where Pluto has claimed his due to warm the flamen to avoid the place, and when the body leaves the house, an assistant to the flamen of Jupiter or the hair must sweep death and the evil spirits out of the house as well. Anyone who touches the body or the bones or crosses a grave is unclean for 7 days. Death pollutes a house for 9 days, until the celebratory dinner that marks the end of mourning, Deceno Novendialis. Roman names. By tradition, a full Roman name consists of 3 parts: the personal name, plebeius, the middle name, denoting the clan to which the person belongs, Cornelius, and the surname, cognomen, to indicate the person's family, originally the branch of the clan Scipio. There can be yet further additions if the family continues to ramify. Publius Cornelius Scipio Nasica, or if the person becomes famous for a victory in a war. Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus. The names Caesar and Augustus form the parts of an emperor's official title. It's still Roman names. The adopted sons will usually assume the full name of the person who makes the adoption, but can also indicate the family into which they are born by attaching the middle name of their natural father plus the suffix anus. Thus, Publius Cornelius Scipio Aemilianus means the son of an Aemilius adopted by a Scipio. That's confusing. It's an Aemilius adopted by a Scipio. So it's like, yeah, whatever. The foreigners who become Roman citizens take the middle name of the patron who procures for them citizenships by petitioning in the Senate and retain their original appellation as surname. Cassius Dio. Under the empire, the accumulation of names is becoming a fashion, which may lead to the gradual obsolescence of the customary rules. Women use only one middle name of their father and do not change it upon entering matrimony. If there are several daughters in the family, they are identified by numbers, by numerals, in order of their birth. Cornelia Prima, Cornelia Secunda, Cornelia Tertia, and so forth. Interesting. Well, it's been 38 minutes. We've just read customs. We only have to read legends and temples, and then we're off to the races. Sounds pretty good. It's gonna be an adventure. I could start reading legends, but I'm not gonna probably finish that one because this also might this might have to do with that puzzle that I did at that one point. Maybe I should read that. For now, Romulus and Remus avenge their family. Does it also have to do with the twins? I mean, Romulus and Remus are the twins, so let's start from the beginning. The birth of Romulus and Remus. I mean, yeah, this definitely is a story that correlates to the one puzzle. The great war god Mars saw Rhea Silvia and fell in love with her. He descended from Olympus and loved her as she slept near the sacred spring all Vestal virgins walk to for the purest libation water. When the moment came, Rhea Silvia gave birth to the twins, Romulus and Remus. After her uncle King Amulius learned of this, he put her in prison and ordered his servant to seize the infants and throw them into the Tiber. At this time the Tiber was full of water and unwilling to accept anything, be it gift or murderous offering, so the twins were returned safely to shore. A kind she-wolf, the sacred animal to Mars, nursed them and raised them as she would her own pups. While tending his flocks, a loyal herdsman, Faustulus, heard of infants gurgling and took them to his home. He and his wife Acca, Laurentia, brought them up as their own sons. The twins were equal in strength and intelligence. They learned to run with the quickness of an eagle and hunt with the skill of a wolf. Romulus and Remus avenged their family. It's kind of weird sayings, like eagles don't run, right? And wolves, they hunt in packs? I'm pretty sure Romulus and Remus, I don't know, they're... I don't know. Romulus and Remus avenged their family. As tales of the twins and their exploits spread, they reached their uncle King Amulius, who became worried and decided to investigate. Amulius's men captured Remus and began to torture him in order to find out who he was. Twins share a very intimate bond, and Romulus came in time to free his brother. Together they killed the wicked Amulius, liberated their mother Rhea Silvia, and restored their grandfather Numitor as king. But they refused to stay in Alba Longa, and surrounded by a gang of outlaws, went in search of a place where they could found a city of their own. Let's see, so where is that taking place? Not here, that's for sure. Don't think that door ever opens here, so I don't know why you would look at that, but fair enough. Is that one place where I inserted the coin? Well, I don't know how to get there. Let's see. We have some time to just goof off. Huh? Don't think it's here. This seems promising. Can I even go here anymore? This might be a one-time event here. Right? I guess I can't go here anymore. That's sad. I thought I could just go here again, but this was I'm pretty sure this is like the place where they speak at the festival where they heal this that they do this thing. And of course it's also the legend of Romulus and Remus, the puzzle pieces that I had to make to chronological order, and that would be the puzzle there, which is nice, so we actually know what that was. I still don't really know what the what this puzzle was here, right? Well, this is another one. I should probably write this down as like a date. So thanks for watching anyway, and see you next time.